Hello, it is almost mid-February, so it's time to have a look what's growing on the market farm and in the Polytunnel. Hello, welcome to Brimwood Farm. The Polytunnel is my happy place at the moment. Oh, it's so warm in here. I can't actually believe quite the difference in temperature stepping into the Polytunnel. It's lovely. And as you can see, there's quite a lot growing. These are the lettuces and the peas that I've shown you before, but I have just noticed there's a blimmin' pea flower and another one here. Now this was a complete experiment. I've never grown peas in the Polytunnel at this time of year before. I really just wanted to experiment and see how it went and see if I could get an early crop. Now I don't quite know what I should do. Whether I should pinch all these tops off as pea shoots, because it is only February. I don't even know if there's going to be any pollinators around yet to pollinate these sugar snap peas. Or do I let them just grow and see what happens? It would be marvellous to get a really early sugar snap pea crop. I will have a little think about that one. My pak choi, however, has been a disaster because I left the seedlings in their tray for too long and they still look like perfectly reasonable, lovely little plants. So I transplanted them out, put them into the ground, but that damage at that early stage had already been done. And as you can see, most of them have now gone to seed. It's fine. Again, it was a trial crop. I was testing what to do. These can just be pulled out and fed to the sheep and the pigs. And I have sowed some more, so it's not a problem. But it just goes to show that if you don't prick out your seedlings early enough and they get stressed, they may not show that stress immediately, but they won't grow to their full potential. They will just quickly go, we're going to die soon, so let's quickly go to flower. The first round of broad beans are doing well. It's still a bit too early to put them out, and the soil is completely sodden outside, so I don't want them to rot off. So I am keeping them in here for a little bit longer. But you can see they're heavily packed in though, so I do need to start thinking about pricking out and putting in the soil. Otherwise, exactly what I said about the pak choi is going to happen to those. I've just done another sowing though, so we've got 2 sets of broad beans coming on. The spinach have all been pricked out, so I've got about 200 plants here, and I went through the other day, and if you remember from the last video, I had all that nigella seed that had self-sown into the polytunnel ground. So I've pricked out all of those plants and got near on 80 freebie nigella, which is fantastic. And then up the top here, you can see that we've got loads of little seedlings coming on. The sweet peas in the round pots have begun to appear. I talked about this before. I couldn't work out why 2 pots of sweet peas had come up and the other 2 pots, which were sown at exactly the same time, had not come up. So these came up earlier, then these have started to appear. Perhaps this was slightly drier soil, perhaps the minuscule difference in being nearer the door stopped it. Perhaps it's just a complete fluke, but they're on the way. We've also got the first lot of, I think this is the Mizuna, and this is mustard. They're coming up. The cornflowers are coming on and they need to be pricked out. The first lot of this year's chard is coming through. There's no beet on this side yet. And in fact, this is beet. Oh, look, there is some beet here. There's some beet here. And I was going to say, look, there's some beet here, but that is not a beet seed. Take you out. Green lettuce, red lettuce, and this is not a winter variety, it's just a salad bowl red and a salad bowl green, and it's exactly the same as this crop here. It survives perfectly well in colder temperatures as long as it's got some cover. And this week I've also sown some snapdragons, some asters, some larkspur, turnips, radish, and some kohlrabi. And as another little experiment, again, this is not really for the market farm because there won't be enough of crop. It's just for my interest. I did sow some carrots in here. So I took this long tray, filled it with compost, stuck an old window on top of it. And to my delight, we have loads of little carrot seedlings. I didn't drill them in lines in this. I just broadcast them over the surface, which is why so there's no sort of regimented lines. And it was just, as I say, of interest to see whether I could grow some early carrots in the polytunnel. I really need to buy myself a little battery thermometer, like digital thermometer for in here, because it's toasty in here. I would say it's 15-16 degrees in here, whereas outside it's sunny, but it's definitely not 15 or 16 degrees. Well, how long have you been staring at that? Huh? How long? How long have you been staring? Well, the geese and ducks have come down here today. I did get those ducks out of the pond. I was very worried they weren't going to come in. I shut the geese away and tried to get the ducks off the pond. They wouldn't come, but I went back out to the coop at sunset and they had waddled their way across. But now they have found this pond. And I also need to discourage this, because this is supposed to be a wildlife pond, and the other day I saw some lovely newts in it. And now there's blooming waterfowl in it. Do you want to go somewhere else, please? Go on, off you toddle. This little patch may look devoid of life, but actually there is rhubarb, and the rhubarb crowns are starting to come through. Outside, I must admit, the weather has been so bloody awful, I haven't been able to really do anything. As you know, I put in these beds earlier this year. The rain has just made everything sodden. I have got the onions in and I have got the garlic in. Does anybody find this? I find with the no-dig system, and even when the soil is quite deep actually, as garlic grows, the root growth is so fast that it actually pushes the garlic bulbs out of the ground. So these haven't been moved by birds. This is because the roots have shot down into the soil and actually done it at such a pace, they pushed the bulb out. So I have to come back almost every day and push quite a few bulbs back into the soil. But mostly outside has been left because it's too wet. I don't want to, as I said before, I don't want to ruin the soil structure by trying to work with it. And also, it's just really soul destroying to work the ground, to work the land, to clear it up, to lay plastic out, to put in seeds, and then the weather's not quite right and it comes along and destroys all your hard effort. So, as much as I would love to be getting ahead and say that the season was well underway outside, it's not. Completely the wrong direction. Jock, it's here. It's here. You numbnut. Here. Goodness me. I know I talk about the weather a lot, but quite frankly, I think Great Britain is on the verge of a nervous breakdown because of the winter we have had here. It is just phenomenally wet to a point that I have never experienced. I love that I'm now living on site, but my goodness, it is so muddy and there is so much rain and there's standing water everywhere. But the implications of it also go far further than me just moaning and feeling dismal about it. It actually has major farm welfare and financial consequences. So in the flower farm last year, I didn't lift my ranunculus and my anemones out of laziness. And what I found was actually the next season, so January, February, March of last year, 2023, all the plants came straight back up. And I just had this wonderful early crop. So this year, I did that. I left everything in, thinking they've done really well, so I'll just get a load of early season flowers. Wrong. They've been in standing water, so most of them seem to have rotted. Haha, great. I'm really hoping that when it dries out and we get some warmer weather, they might spring back up, but it looks like that crop has probably gone. I extended the goat pen. We all know the problems I've had with the goats and not being able to free range them anymore because my goats are stupid and they seem to hunt out things that are poisonous and will kill them. So I extended the goat pen to increase their welfare, give them more space, and it's flooded and looks awful. The deep bedding litter system that I've got my ewes on at the moment was working brilliantly, and I was looking forward to digging that out in a year or so's time, having some rich compost, but also that composting process releases warmth, so when the ewes are on it, it's warm, it's soft, it's nice. Well, it's now way too wet, and the wet is not draining away, which means it's not composting, it's just turning into stagnant detritus. Not great. And the knock-on effect of that is I am having to buy in so much bedding. In previous winters I probably spent £20-30 a month on straw. I'm spending hundreds of pounds a month on straw at the moment because I had the sheep in, the goats in, I had the pigs in because the pigs can't be out because they would be up to their necks in mud. So obviously I want to give my animals the best welfare and I want to make them dry and I want to make them comfy. But that just means I am in so much debt because of the straw costs. And straw's not expensive, it's £2.50 a bale. But the amount I need, because obviously every time it rains, it just gets swampy again. So keeping anything dry is just impossible. And then this year's lambing was planned all around the February half term for schools, so the school break, thinking I could open up the farm and have people come in to see the lambs and make some money. So not only show them the lambs, show them the beautiful, wonderful process of babies, but charge a little bit for ticket entry. Well, I can't do that now because the farm is a mess. It's muddy, it's swampy. Even if I could get the barn looking lovely, there's nowhere for anybody to park because they can't park on the field because the cars will sink and they'll never be able to leave. So my goodness, am I ready for some drier weather? I must say, the forecast looks a little brighter, and as we get towards spring and plants start to grow, then plants are going to be using that ground moisture to grow. So that's going to sap away some. There'll be less rain. It will drain away, so it will all be good. But I just think, for all of us outsidey people, I've got friends who are they're flower farmers. Their entire farm is underwater. They can't do anything. They're growing a few things in the Polytunnel, but a lot of the investment over the past years of perennial crops, it's gone. Everything's rotted. It's all underwater. But that's farm life. So as you can see, there's literally just standing water everywhere, and this ditch is running, which is quite nice. And there are signs of spring. Daffodils coming up. Haven't seen. Oh, crocuses are coming up. That's quite nice. And then there are snowdrops over here. And this coming week, Hyacinth should be having her piglets. Her belly's super swollen. She hasn't got any milk yet, but her nipples have changed. The nipples before the milk comes in go from just a tight nipple to the chest to sort of start to become a bit of a triangle shape. That's happened. So they should be appearing this week, and then the first lambs could also appear this week if the first two ewes go early. So over the next couple of weeks there'll be a lot of new life coming to the farm, and also don't tell anybody, but the incubator's on, so there might also be some chicks and ducklings soon.